Hi guys, my name's Mary Kenyon. I've been quilting for about 20 years and I woke up on Saturday morning. I have no makeup, no shower, and decided to sit down and make some face masks. I've come up with a pattern that's really easy, so I figured I'd go ahead and put together a tutorial. This is a mask that anybody can make. I mean, way simpler than a lot of the ones that I've seen online. All you need is a small piece of fabric and 2 pieces of elastic and a sewing machine. You could hand sew this also if you wanted to. Just make sure you pick a nice heavier cotton that has a really tight weave, so you can have better filtration. It also has a pocket made in, so you can slip in an extra filter if need be. So I hope you like it. Thanks. Okay, fold in half. Fold in half again. Finger press so you know where the center is. And then just fold one small bit, finger press again. This is just going to give you guidelines for sewing. So now you have a line here and a line here, equal distance from the center. You're going to stitch about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Down to your first line. Back stitch. Come down to the second line. Now you have the opening for your filter. Okay, so here you have your 1 stitch with the tiny little opening in the center. Please disregard my ugly ironing board. I've never made a tutorial before and I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, so it's very old, it's had a lot of use. Anyways, when this is laid flat, just finger press the center edge here. Should give you a little crease. That way you can line up this crease with your stitch to find the center on the opposite side. And now we're going to take our iron and just press this seam here open. I've seen a couple other tutorials where they used a serger or an overlock stitch to finish this edge to keep it from fraying. I don't really think that step's necessary because Kona is such a nice heavy fabric. It doesn't fray too badly anyways. And if you use a nice, 1/2 inch seam allowance, that's a lot of wear and tear that it can take. Plus it's going to be tucked on the inside. If you're really worried about it, you can do that, or you could just run a line of fray stopper down each side. But it saves you some time than having to worry about serging it or hemming it. Also, I did one where I had hemmed it over and I felt like it added a lot of bulk, and this is going to be up against your face, so the less bulk the better. You're going to stitch down the sides of each of the open ends, leaving about a finger width open. That's where you're going to put your elastic. Just like that. Okay, back to the ugly ironing board. Now we have our little opening, so we're just going to do some tugging and some pulling. Try not to just be gentle with it, little bits at a time so you don't split your stitch. Oh, by the way, I'm using cotton fabric, but I am using polyester thread. Polyester thread is a good bit stronger than cotton. It's not going to break as easily, and also using a smaller stitch length will keep things just tighter all around and a little more sturdier. Okay, we've got this mostly turned inside out. I'm using a knitting needle, which is one of my favorite tools, just to work the edges out. You could use a chopstick, you could use your finger. You know, I like using the knitting needle because if I want to press it with my iron, it's not going to melt inside my project. Each of your corners should have a little opening now on all 4 sides. I'm just wiggling that open. It'll make it easier for when we thread our elastic through. Okay, we've got it all pressed out. I'm just gonna give it a nice once over with my iron. If you've got some fabric that's really thick and doesn't want to crease up nice, you can always just spritz it with some water. Give you a nice crisper look, you know, or if you have a steam iron, you can do that too. Okay, so now we're going to put the elastic through the 2 open ends, and there's several different ways you can do this. You can do using a safety pin and thread it through your elastic so it gives you something hard to hold on and wiggle through. You can use an elastic threader, which some of you may have. I don't have any that are thin enough for this, so I do a lot of fish tanks, so I have my aquascaping tweezers, which would work really great because you can stick it all the way through and just pinch and pull, but I prefer to use these hemostats just because they have a nice good Loctite grip. So I'm just going to show you. You may get caught up on your hem a little like this. It doesn't want to come out. Just, you'll find it. Just wiggle it around. And if not, you can always poke out the hem a little and just tuck it back in. So just going to get that in there. See? Nice and good. I like these because I can pull it through without losing it. So we're going to do that on both sides. Okay, now we're going to put in the pleats. I've just kind of been eyeballing this. If you're one of those people that doesn't like to do that, you could use your clear ruler and just make sure they're evenly spaced. I'm just kind of using my finger width as a guide for everything. The first one I've been doing just about 1 inch and pinning, making sure that I am not pinning into the elastic. We want this elastic to be able to move freely through the pleats. I've seen a couple other tutorials where they pleated, stitched, and then tried to thread the elastic through, which you can do that too. I just think it's easier and it saves you a step if you do it this way. So I'm just kind of using my thumb. You know, I've done this a couple times now, so it's easier. The first time I had to unpin and readjust. Also, one of the reasons I made my mask a little bit wider in the fabric at 9 inches when some of the others are 6 and 7 inches is because it gives me a lot of room to do 3 nice pleats. Or tucks, whatever you want to call them. All right. There we go. This looks pretty good. It's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. I can measure it to see if it's a perfect rectangle. You know, it's pretty good, actually. If it wasn't, I might adjust it a little bit. If it looked like it was way shorter on one side, that would bother me. So now we're gonna sew. This is the most important part. Do not sew through your elastic. You did all this hard work. If you sew through the elastic, you're gonna have to pull it out. So I'm gonna sew. I can see where my elastic is. Again, you could draw a line with chalk if you wanted a guideline, but I mean, then you're gonna have chalk on the front of your fabric. So I'm just gonna come in here about 1/2 inch and sew through both sides of the mask. All right, now let's see if our elastic is moving. It is. It's not caught, so that's good. This side. Now what I've done is I've stitched both sides. I actually did 2 stitches just to make sure it's nice and sturdy, and then I just been giving these a tug to make sure that they can both move freely throughout the mask. Then what you can do is take these and tie a knot in them. Now I got this idea from the tutorial by Gather Here, which I thought was a really good tutorial. This makes it possible that you can adjust the size of the mask. So you can tug this through until the knot is on the inside so you don't see the knot. Also, as the elastic stretches over time, you can pull it out and then tighten the knot. Like I said, this is 10 inches. It's nice and snug on me. It might not be enough for someone else, so they may need to shorten it by quite a lot. There we go. So now all I gotta do is clip the threads and pull the elastic around so it goes inside the seam so you don't see the knot. Okay, so here we go. We've got the knots pulled through, all the threads clipped. You've got this, what looks kind of tiny, but you know, the good thing is it will open up some, and hopefully you can see this. We have this nice little pocket here where people can slip in their filters. One of the best tips I saw from one of the hospitals was using clothing tape, like you would normally use to fix a dress or a V-neck. And attaching clothing tape across the inside edges to your face, and then you have a nice tight seal. So even if you don't have any filters, you know, you still have a good double layered cotton mask with a nice tight seal. And you can easily purchase the clothing tape on Amazon. I know I bought some today. There was still plenty of available, you know, so hopefully there'll still be some more. So go order it. So here's the mask on. It feels really good. It's, you know, it doesn't have a big gap like some of the other masks that I sewed. It's a little tight on my ears, but like I said, I can adjust the elastic. And again, this is thicker elastic. I think it'll be better when my 3/4 inch elastic comes in the mail. It's nice and snug on my chin too. So with the addition of some skin tape, I think this is a pretty good option for everybody. Plus it's super easy to make, and really all you need is, you know, 20 inches of elastic and a piece of fabric that's 9 by 18 inches. There you go. And some thread.